If you own a Newmar, you know that the baggage doors are the bane of your existence. And one of the things that goes wrong on everybody's coach are the hardware on these baggage doors. There's lots of things that can go wrong, but one of the most common things that goes wrong are these latches. A number of ways, but the two most common ways, it could either be the guide breaking or it could be the latch bending. Either one can cause you all sorts of problems on the road. I'm going to show you how to DIY your own guide and how to pick up a latch for $4. The guide is going to cost you just 50 cents, not $40. Stay tuned, I'm going to show you how to do it all. Okay, as I showed you before, the nemesis of these Newmar coaches is in the baggage doors. And the thing that seems to break for everybody constantly, because when you shut them, you want them to be shut tight and they're adjusted to be super tight, is this plastic guide. And what ends up happening, as I showed you before, is it breaks off right here and you've got to get a new one. Well, these are just made out of plastic, nothing special about them, but I think Newmar thinks they're super special because they're $42 on their website. $42 for that little piece of plastic that they cut on a CNC. That is, yeah, that's not reasonable. The other thing that happens when that happens is that since the guide is broken, these things get all mashed. So what we need to do is we need to get a new one of these latches, which in the description below you'll see a link to where you can get these for just $4 each, not $12 on the Newmar site. And then we have to have a different one of these because I'm not paying $42 for this thing. So what I found and what I'm going to show you guys how to do is to do it yourself with an HDPE cutting board, which is a really strong material, strong kind of plastic. It's not brittle at all. It's used for cutting boards. So yeah, you can make 25 of these from this one sheet that you can get for $15 off of Amazon for this cutting board. And I'm going to show you how to cut it all up into these little shapes, and you can have them on your coach as spares because I definitely recommend that. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is get a square bit. And if it's on one of the baggage doors with a cover, you're going to need to remove all of the screws on the cover. I like to use a cordless drill driver, makes it just go that much faster. So here's where the latch gets bent, and it happens because the guide on the other side snaps when the door is slammed and it's not adjusted correctly. So next up, you'll remove the two bolts, one on each side, with a 7/16 socket or end wrench. Then you'll be able to pull off the plastic bracket where you can see right here it's broken. So next we can remove the bracket, but before we can do that, we have to disconnect the cable right here. Just insert the right size Allen key on one side and remove the cable. Now use your square bit again to remove these two screws. So here you can see exactly how mangled this latch got because the guide broke. So now let's go make some guides. Okay, so we've unpackaged the piece of cutting board material. We've got a solid surface here that's super important. We want to make sure that we clamp it down really well. So I'm going to use these clamps here, try to get a clamp on it. That's good. And I'll use this one over here. We'll get that clamped down so that it can't move. And then we have to basically take this, which is our good part that we have, and we have to draw a pattern on the cutting board material. And to do that, because it's black, it's hard to see a pen, I think, so I'm going to try to use a scribe to do that, which is just a pokey piece of material. So I'm going to find kind of the corner of this, and you know, the top edge corner doesn't have to be sharp like this, so I'm going to go right into the corner, and I'm going to take that, and I'm actually going to clamp that down with my clamp first. I'll actually use this clamp so I can get it scribed down. So I'll get that situated, clamp it down, and then I'll use my scribe to scribe out the first one. I'll trace around, and you want it to be pretty exact. And when we cut, we're going to cut actually to the inside a little bit so that we get an exact cut. You want to make sure it doesn't move. You scribe all the way around. And when you're done, what you should be left with is a little picture of it, like you see right here on the cutting board. And then that's what we're going to cut around. So to cut this out, we're actually going to use a jigsaw to do it with a medium tooth blade on here on this jigsaw. And as always, when you're using a saw, you're going to want to have some safety glasses. It's important. At least it is for the video. What happens outside the video, we don't know. So again, make sure it's clamped down good. I got one clamp on there. I'm going to clamp the other clamp on. And we make sure we're not going to cut into anything important. And then we're just going to go ahead, nice and slow. Start. Follow the line. So there's the first edge. We'll do the back edge. And then we'll probably have to cut a little notch out. I didn't drill the holes yet. I don't know if I should drill them first or maybe I'll drill them afterward. I don't know, but we'll try this first one. We'll drill them after the fact, just to make sure. So this is my first one, so we'll see how it comes out. Looking pretty good so far. So far, so good. Again, the most important part is going to be this curve up here. And to do that, I'm actually going to drill it with a drill to get the right radius on it. And then I'm going to cut to that drill spot. So that's what I'm going to do next. So right here is exactly where we're going to need that nice radius. So in order to get that radius, I'm not going to be able to cut that with a saw. So to get this radius right here, the best way to do this is not with a saw. It's actually with a drill bit. And if you've got one, a drill bit that's got the center point like that, because that's going to allow you to center that right in the middle of that radius so it doesn't walk on you, so that the drill bit doesn't walk. So after marking these two holes with the scribe, we're going to go ahead and drill them out here while it's mounted. That should be that should make it a little bit easier while it's still part of the main piece of the board to basically mark the holes and then drill them. They look to be 1/8 inch holes, thereabouts. I'm going to use a 1/8 inch bit. Actually, this is an acrylic bit, but you don't have to use an acrylic bit. I just happen to have one lying around, and they've got a nice sharp point in the front of them. Go ahead and drill these out. I'm going to drill the second one out where I marked it. Start slow. There's the second one. We'll clean those up on the other side too, because I'm sure there's some scrap hanging off the back side of the hole. Now we can check our bolt that we have, see that it goes through nice and smooth, which it does. And okay, so the holes are now drilled. We can finish our cuts. Everything doesn't have to be perfectly exact because they cut this corner off later on. When you look at the drawing from Newmar, they actually just lop off this corner off of the regular pieces that they had because evidently there's a clearance issue. But I mean, all these sharp edges, they're not really the important part. The most important part is right here, right? This is the part which guides everything in. We'll touch the rest of that up with the file after the fact. There we have it. There's the piece. Now, is it exactly like this piece? Well, right now it's not, okay, but is it going to be close enough? Again, the only part that really matters is that the holes line up and that this curve right here all works. So what we're going to do next, we're actually going to take a file and we're going to clean up all of these areas so they're nice and smooth. That's the key thing. Everything needs to be nice and smooth on this part right through here. Right through here, it has to be nice and smooth and match up with what they have there. So once you get it all cut and drilled and everything, you can come in with a little file and just clean all the edges up, clean this little radius out right down in here. You can see the radius. Get it nice and smooth and get it to match up. Overall, you shall see that it is pretty much spot on, identical to the original. Looks here like we got a nice little part. Okay, so now that we've made our replacement guide and I've bought the new latches, let's put it all back together. One key thing to note though is that the latches come in both left-hand and right-hand versions. So you'll want to match up the exact right one for the one you're replacing. To put it back together, you pretty much just reverse the process you did taking it apart. It's kind of a no-brainer. And here's the replacement guide that we made earlier, and I think it's going to work perfect. You could certainly sand it down a little bit more, but this is good enough for me. So now you just use that 7/16 socket to put the 2 bolts in, put the cover on, and that's pretty much it. All right, guys, so that's it. I mean, it wasn't that difficult to do once you know what to do, and that's what I'm for, is to show you how, of course. But we fixed the latch. It's working good. I'm going to go around and fix the rest of them. I actually have a few of them in my kit, so when I'm on the road, I have spares. I have spare latches and I have spare guides with me. And this is something that you can do, and if you can't cut it with a saw, you know, I'm sure you have some neighbor or friend that'll do it for you. And thanks for joining us in this video. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, RV for Freedom. We're going to be doing more and more of these videos. Some of them will just be fun videos, some of them will be how-to, and maybe you'll see us on the road. Look for the Newmar with the sticker on it. Take care.